Hi guys! Today I'm thinking about countries you could live or travel in for less than $1,000 per month. The premise of the video is that you may be thinking of emigrating from your home country and making use of an income from, for example, a pension, investments, or property to make use of arbitrage to live or retire in a lower cost country, or simply to live off your savings. The costs could also be used by travellers to plan a travel route on a budget. The list includes a selection of countries where the average cost of living is less than $1,000 per month. Although it should be noted that not all of the countries in the world which are less than $1,000 per month are shown. The countries have been selected as they are some of the most popular destinations for those considering relocating or travelling from the Western world. Of course, unless you want to learn a new language, a high proficiency of English in your country of choice is highly beneficial and could make all the difference in being able to fit in as an expat, particularly in countries where there is not a large expat community. The countries highlighted in green have a proficiency of English higher than 25%. The cost of living per month in 2026 is also shown in pounds and euros, and the cost increase since 2023 is also shown to demonstrate how costs are changing in the country over time. The cost of living in some of these countries may surprise you. So just on the spreadsheet here, so the first column is the country. The second column is the cost of living per month in dollars in 2023 for a single person, and then in 2024, 25, and 2026. The next column is the cost of living per month in pounds in 2026, and then in euros. The next column is the percentage of English speakers, and then the last column is the cost of living increase or decrease, as the case may be, since 2023. The first country on our list is Argentina, where the cost of living in 2023 was $494 in dollars, and then in 2026 was $878. So the cost increase since 2023 was 78%, and the amount of English speakers in the country is 6.5%. In Indonesia, the cost of living was $548 in dollars in 2023, and it's now $575. So this is an increase of only 5% over the 3-year period, and 20% of people speaking English in Indonesia. In Malaysia, 652 in 2023 and 824 in 2026, which is a 34% increase. And in Malaysia, 50% of people speaking English, which is very high. In Vietnam, 639 to 650, which is just a 2% increase, and 7% of people speaking English. In the Philippines, 601 to 616, which is a 3% increase, and 63% of people speaking English in the Philippines. In Paraguay, 546 to 682, which is a 27% increase, and just 11% of people speaking English in Paraguay. In North Macedonia, 553 to 775, which is a 45% increase, and 54% of people speaking English, which again is very high. In China, 752 to 650. So the cost of living here has actually gone down to the tune of 20%, and just 0.9% of people speaking English in China. In Bolivia, $750 to 726 in 2026, which is a decrease of nearly 5%. 10% of people speaking English here. In Nicaragua, 633 to 755, an increase of 24.7%, and 5% of people speaking English. Cape Verde, 797 to 989, which is an increase of 39%, and 10% of people speaking English. In Turkey, 447 to 889, which is an increase of 89.4%, and 17% of people speaking English here. In Colombia, 574 to 890, an increase of 64%. In Cambodia, 692 to 821, which is an increase of 26%, and 22% of English speakers. Brazil, 601 to 771, an increase of 34%, and 5% English. In Myanmar, 864 to 610. So the cost of living here has substantially decreased, with a decrease of 51% over a 3-year period, and just 5% of people speaking English here. In Venezuela, 657 to 818, an increase of 32.5%, and 13% of people speaking English. In Peru, 630 to 887, an increase of 52%, with 11% of people speaking English. Moldova, 537 to 863, an increase of 66%, which is 2/3 over 3 years, and 20% of people speaking English. And in Thailand, 2023 cost of 831 in dollars, and 914 in 2026. So the cost went slightly down, and then went substantially up, and up again in 2026. So the cost increase over the 3-year period is nearly 17%, and 27% of people speaking English in Thailand. The Dominican Republic, 711 865, an increase of 31%, and 10% English. And in Romania, 652 to 973, an increase of 65%, and 25% English. And in Georgia, 538 in 2023 to 923 in 2026, an increase of 78%, and 25% English. And in Egypt, 449 to 418. So in Egypt, the cost went up, and then substantially down, and then increased slightly in 2026. So it's a decrease of 6% over the 3-year period, with 35% English. And in India, the cost of living seems to be remarkably stable, with 423, then 441 in 24, 437 in 25 and 425 in 2026. So over the 3-year period is an increase of only 0.4% and 17% English. So the outcome is that some of the countries on the list have had a very large increase in the cost of living in recent years, including Argentina, Turkey, Colombia, Peru, Moldova, Romania, and Georgia, with Turkey having the highest cost increase of some 89%. Some countries on the list have relatively stable costs and don't seem to experience sharp increases or drops in costs. For example, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, and India. And some of the countries even have a reduced cost of living, like China, Bolivia, Myanmar, and Egypt, suggesting goods and services are actually becoming cheaper when compared to previous years. So the conclusion is that if you are looking for a country to live in or travel in for less than $1,000 per month, which has relatively stable costs, you may want to consider Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, or India. Okay guys, that was countries where you could live or travel in for less than $1,000 per month. I'll see you on the next one.